Welcome to Holly's Quiet Harbor. Take a deep breath and let your mind begin to rest. Once upon a time, in a green country of soft hills and winding roads, there lived a kind young prince named Rowan. Rowan's home was a comfortable old castle with ivy on the walls, warm fires in the hearths, and windows that looked out over meadows full of sheep and clover. His father, Lord Bramwell, loved three things very much: a good breakfast, an afternoon nap, and his only son. Lord Bramwell was cheerful, round-faced, and fond of telling stories at supper. He believed happiness was simple: a cozy chair, a full table, a soft bed, and people you loved nearby. What more could anyone need? But Rowan was a dreamer. He liked to wander in the woods at twilight, listening to the wind in the leaves. He liked to watch the moon rise over the orchard. Sometimes he would sit beneath an old oak tree and imagine all the places beyond the hills, lands where the air smelled of flowers he had never seen, where birds sang unfamiliar songs, and where the sun fell golden on strange and beautiful gardens. One evening, a traveler came to the castle carrying a basket of oranges. No one in Lord Bramwell's household had ever seen oranges before. They were round and bright, like little suns. Their fragrance filled the great hall with sweetness. At supper, Rowan held one in his hands and breathed in its perfume. "Where did these come from?" he asked. "From a warm country far to the south," said the traveler. "A country where the trees are green all year and the fruit glows among the leaves like lanterns." That night, Rowan dreamed. He dreamed he was walking through a garden of orange trees. The air was warm. The blossoms were white as stars. Golden fruit hung from every branch. In the dream, Rowan reached for the brightest orange on the tallest tree. When he opened it, a tiny golden canary flew out and circled above his head. Then the canary became a young woman with warm brown eyes and a smile as bright as morning. When Rowan woke, sunlight was just beginning to touch the window. He lay still for a moment, remembering the dream. Then he rose, dressed for travel, and went to his father's room. Lord Bramwell was sitting up in bed with a tray of toast and jam. "Father," Rowan said gently, "I have had a dream, and I must follow it." Lord Bramwell blinked at him. "A dream before breakfast is a serious thing," he said. "Where is it taking you?" "To the land of oranges," said Rowan. "I believe someone is there, waiting for me." Lord Bramwell sighed, but he knew his son's heart. Dreamers cannot always be kept beside the fire. So he blessed Rowan's journey, gave him a warm cloak, a silver coin, and a bundle of bread and cheese for the road. "Go carefully," he said, "and when you find what you are looking for, bring your story home." Rowan kissed his father's cheek, saddled his gentle white horse, Clover, and rode away as the morning opened over the hills. For many days, Rowan traveled south. He passed quiet villages where smoke curled from chimneys. He crossed fields of wheat that whispered in the wind. He rode through valleys where streams flashed between stones, and over hills where the sky seemed wide enough to hold every dream in the world. Each day, the air grew warmer. Each evening, the light lingered longer. And at last, just as sunset turned the road to gold, Rowan came to a small cottage at the edge of a deep green forest. An old woman sat outside, shelling peas into a blue bowl. Her hair was white, her eyes were kind, and beside her grew a little orange tree in a clay pot. "Good evening," said Rowan, dismounting. "May I rest here a while?" "You may," said the old woman. "A road is easier when it includes a welcome." She gave Clover water and set a simple supper before Rowan. Soup with herbs, warm bread, and a cup of cool spring water. When he had eaten, the old woman said, "You've come a long way. What are you seeking?" Rowan told her about the oranges, the dream, the golden canary, and the young woman who had smiled at him like morning. The old woman nodded as if none of this surprised her. "Dreams sometimes know the road before we do," she said. "The garden you seek lies beyond the forest. It belongs to an old enchantment, but it is not locked against kindness." She handed Rowan 4 small gifts. The first was a little bottle of oil. "The garden gate has been stiff for many years," she said. "Oil its hinges." The second was a honey cake wrapped in linen. "A lonely hound waits in the courtyard. Offer him this." The third was a wooden brush with a smooth handle. "A tired baker keeps the oven fires. Give her this, and she'll rest easier." The fourth was a length of blue ribbon. "Beside the well, you'll find a frayed old rope. Tie the ribbon around it, and it will remember it is useful." Rowan took the gifts carefully. "Thank you," he said. "What must I do then?" "Go around the old house," said the woman, "and you'll find the orange grove. Choose 3 oranges and do not open them until you come to running water. A river, a stream, a fountain, any living water will do." "I will remember," Rowan said. The old woman smiled. "One more thing. When you find what your heart has been seeking, do not leave it lonely. Even a little while can feel long to someone newly freed." Rowan promised. The next morning, he rode into the forest. The trees were tall and close together, but the path was soft beneath Clover's hooves. Birds sang in the branches. Sunlight fell in green patches over the moss. After a while, Rowan came to a high wall covered in vines. He followed it until he found an iron gate. It was beautiful, but very old, and when Rowan touched it, it gave a tired creak. He took out the bottle of oil and gently poured a few drops onto the hinges. The gate sighed. Then it opened all by itself. Inside was a quiet courtyard. The stones were warm from the sun. In the shade lay a great old hound, large as a pony, with silver around his muzzle. The hound lifted his head and looked at Rowan. Rowan unwrapped the honey cake and laid it on the ground. "For you," he said. The hound sniffed it, ate it in one delighted bite, and wagged his tail so grandly the dust rose from the courtyard stones. Rowan walked on. Near the back of the house, he saw a baker standing beside a brick oven. Her sleeves were rolled up, and flour dusted her cheek. "You look tired," Rowan said kindly. "I've been sweeping this oven with a bundle of twigs for longer than I can remember," she said. Rowan gave her the wooden brush. The baker's face softened. "Well now," she said, "that is a useful kindness." She leaned the brush beside the oven and sat down with a grateful sigh. A little farther on, Rowan found the well. Its rope hung damp and tangled over the stones. He lifted it into the sunlight, smoothed its knots, and tied the blue ribbon around the place where the fibers had begun to fray. The rope straightened proudly in the air. Then Rowan went around the old house. And there, just as in his dream, was the orange grove. The trees were green and glossy. White blossoms scented the air. Golden oranges glowed beneath the leaves, each one bright as a little lantern. Rowan walked slowly among the trees until he found 3 oranges that seemed to shine with their own quiet light. He placed them carefully in his satchel. As he turned to leave, a wind moved through the grove. A low voice, older than the walls, whispered, "Gate, close against him. Hound, stop him. Baker, delay him. Rope, bind him." But the gate only opened wider and said, "He eased my hinges." The hound wagged his tail and said, "He shared his cake." The baker smiled and said, "He brought me rest." And the rope, fluttering its blue ribbons, said, "He remembered my strength." So Rowan passed safely through the gate and rode out of the forest. He felt light-hearted, for he believed the hardest part of the journey was behind him. The old woman had told him to wait for running water before opening the oranges, and Rowan meant to obey. But the day grew warm, and the road stretched long and pale before him. By afternoon, he was very thirsty. He reached for his water flask and found it empty. Still, he rode on. At last, when the sun was low and the fields shimmered with heat, Rowan looked at the oranges in his satchel. They smelled so fresh, so cool, so full of sweetness. "Surely," he said softly, "one orange could do no harm." He opened the first. Out flew a tiny golden canary. "Water," sang the canary. "A little water, please." Rowan looked around in dismay. There was no stream, no fountain, no spring. "I'm sorry," he whispered. The canary circled once above him, then flew toward the setting sun and vanished into the gold. Rowan's heart sank. he opened the second orange without thinking. Out flew another golden canary. "Water," it sang. "A little water, please." Again, Rowan had none to give. The second canary rose into the warm evening light and disappeared among the clouds. Then Rowan remembered the old woman's warning, and he felt sorry for his impatience. He took the third orange in both hands and held it close. "This one," he said, "I will carry to water." Night came softly. Dew gathered on the grass. The air cooled. Rowan and Clover rested beneath a tree. And in the morning, just as dawn opened pink along the horizon, Rowan heard the sound of a stream. Never had water sounded so beautiful. He led Clover to the bank and drank deeply. Then he filled his flask and knelt beside the running water. With careful hands, he opened the third orange. Out flew the smallest golden canary of all. "Water," she sang. "A little water, please." Rowan cupped his hands in the stream and lifted the water to the canary's beak. She drank. At once, the air shimmered. The canary's golden feathers became a gown the color of sunrise. Her wings became soft brown hair. Her bright eyes became the warm eyes Rowan had seen in his dream. Before him stood a young woman, graceful and radiant, with a smile like morning. "My name is Leora," she said. "Thank you for bringing me to the water." Rowan bowed. "I am Rowan," he said. "I came because I dreamed of you." Leora looked around in wonder. She had been enchanted for many years, hidden inside the golden fruit in the form of a canary. Everything seemed new to her. The stream, the grass, the horse, the wind moving over the fields. Rowan remembered the old woman's final words. "Do not leave it lonely." So he stayed beside Leora. He did not rush her. He did not hurry her onto the road. He let her walk along the stream and touch the leaves. He let her listen to the birds and ask questions about every small thing. "What is that?" she asked, pointing to a butterfly. "A butterfly," said Rowan. "And that sound?" "A lark." "And that silver path?" "The stream under the sun." Leora smiled at each answer as though the world were giving her gifts. When she was ready, Rowan helped her onto Clover, and together they began the journey home. They traveled slowly. In the mornings, they rode through golden fields. At noon, they rested in the shade. In the evenings, they watched the sky turn peach and lavender. Leora loved everything. She loved the sound of bells from distant villages. She loved bread, warm from roadside ovens. She loved the way stars appeared one by one, as if someone were lighting candles in heaven. And Rowan loved seeing the world through her eyes. After many gentle days, they came near Lord Bramwell's castle. Rowan could see the towers beyond the trees. He wanted to give Leora a royal welcome, with music and flowers and his father waiting at the gate. But then he remembered his promise not to leave her lonely. So instead of riding ahead, he stayed. They stopped by a fountain in the forest, where clear water spilled into a stone basin. "I think," Rowan said, "we should enter together." Leora smiled. "I would like that." As they rested there, a village girl named Mara came to the fountain, carrying an empty pitcher. Mara had lived a difficult life and often felt unseen. Her clothes were plain, her hands were rough from work, and she had long believed that beauty and kindness belonged to other people. When she saw Leora, she stopped. "You look like someone from a story," Mara said. Leora smiled warmly. "Perhaps today you're in one." Mara looked down at her own reflection in the fountain. "I've never been in the beautiful part of a story," she said. Rowan heard the sadness in her voice. "There is more than one kind of beauty," he said. Leora nodded. "And more than one way for a life to change." So when Rowan and Leora rode to the castle, they invited Mara to come with them. Lord Bramwell came down the marble steps as fast as his comfortable slippers allowed. When he saw Rowan safe and smiling, he opened his arms. When he saw Leora beside him, he grew very still. "Well," he said, "you did bring your story home." The castle filled with celebration. Not the noisy kind that makes one tired, but the warm kind, full of lanterns, music, flowers, and the smell of good things baking. Lord Bramwell ordered tables to be spread for everyone. Nobles, servants, villagers, travelers, and children from the lanes. There were loaves of bread with shining crusts, bowls of berries, honey cakes, roasted vegetables, sugared almonds, and tarts filled with apples and pears. As for Mara, she stood shyly at the edge of the hall until Leora took her hand. "You came with us," Leora said. "You belong at the table." And so Mara sat among them. In time, she discovered that she had a gift for growing things. She tended the castle gardens, and under her care, roses climbed the walls. Herbs filled the kitchen beds, and a little orange tree was planted in the warmest courtyard. Years passed gently. Rowan and Leora were married beneath garlands of orange blossoms. Lord Bramwell told the story at every feast, though he made it longer each time. Clover grew old in a sunny pasture. Mara's garden became famous throughout the countryside. And each spring, when the orange tree bloomed, golden canaries gathered in its branches. They sang at dawn, they sang at dusk. And sometimes, if the light was just right, Rowan and Leora thought they recognized two of them. Bright little birds flying free beneath the sun. The country grew peaceful and generous. No traveler passed the castle gate without being offered water. No child visited the garden without being given fruit. And no one forgot the lesson of the golden oranges. That dreams may lead us farther than we planned. That kindness may open gates old fear has closed. And that the heart, when it is patient and gentle, can recognize the song of what it loves. So tonight, imagine that garden. The orange blossoms glowing white in the dusk, the fountain murmuring softly, the canaries tucked among the leaves, the castle windows warm with lamplight, and beyond the hills, the road lying quiet beneath the stars. All is well. The gate is open. The stream is singing. And somewhere in the branches of the orange tree, a golden canary dreams peacefully in the dark.